Hello world, welcome back to the Razor RC. It's time to do the full review of the Kyosho Dirt Master. This is a 1/10 scale electric two-wheel drive race buggy that came out a few weeks ago here in the US and was available actually I think in Europe for a little bit longer than that, but just reached the shore, so I obviously built it, painted it up, and I've been driving this quite a bit, actually driving this a lot more than any of my other RC cars and having a ton of fun with it. And just want to do kind of a quick review. This is not like the full-on comprehensive review I do with some of my vehicles because it's a little bit different type of vehicle, but it is a rear motor vehicle based off the RB5, so pretty inexpensive vehicles, under $200, which is I think a fantastic deal nowadays. Most modern day kits are going to be closer to like $330, $350 or more. So something like this I think is a tremendous value. Now they did kind of lower the spec on this compared to an RB5. It does have plastic shocks, which is I think the main thing, and they did use plastic parts for a lot of places where they traditionally used aluminum. So like all these little ball stud spacers are plastic. The nuts here on the shocks, they're just like little plastic, I guess, nuts. The body has been changed a bit. Also, the wing is a little bit different. This is the original wing. I actually replaced it with a TLR wing just because this provides a little more downforce. So it works a lot better for an actual race vehicle. So looking at the body though, they did go kind of retro, rear motor, rear cab style body. Paints up really nice, stickers up really nice. I just used Tamiya red on there. And then here's what the vehicle itself looks like. Using pretty basic electronics. I'm using MKS X5 shorty servo up front. A really cheap Hobby Star ESC, like a 60 amp ESC I bought for, I don't know, $40 or something like that. I'm using a FlySky Noble receiver there. And then motor wise, I'm using an old school Reedy Sonic M3. 17.5 turn motor from that era, kind of the late 2000s, early 2010s. I think when this came out, it was closer to the late 2000s, and by the time it hit like 2010, 2012 or so, they already had the RB6 out, which was basically a vehicle you convert from rear motor to mid motor. So this one was rear motor only, plastic tub chassis. The newer ones started going with aluminum and a mid motor option. Vehicle itself, there are some other changes they made to the RB5. The rear dog bones, are just regular dog bones rather than CVAs or anything like that. Not sure what else changes they made. The plastics actually seem pretty durable, so I don't know if they changed the composition of the plastics for the vehicle. Actually, I haven't broken anything, so I was pretty shocked. I did make some changes from the stock build. I went to shielded rubber bearings rather than the metal shielded bearings, just to provide a little bit better sealing. Looks like I did I did bend a tie rod there in the front, so I guess I did break something, didn't even realize that. Parts are still pretty available for this vehicle, so that's pretty nice. You can get aluminum shocks, you can get pretty much all the arms and plastic pieces and stuff that you would expect. So I think support for this is still pretty good. Not sure how long that will continue, but as of now, you could definitely drive this thing and it will be running just fine. Things I don't like about the vehicle, well, number one, probably the battery strap is a little bit short. I don't know if it's made for like nickel metal hydride batteries or whatever, but sticking a full-size 2S in there, it barely fits. I actually raised these posts a little bit because they seem like they're just a little short. I think I went up a millimeter, but it really needs more like 2 or 3 millimeters. Probably a good thing to replace these plastic ball stud spacers with aluminum pieces. They'll just provide a little more durability because they won't be able to wiggle around quite so much in the blocks. I also put set screws in all these empty holes. That again just provides a little more durability by making it less likely these ball studs will rip out of the camber blocks. Other than that, I did go aluminum hexes here on the rear. As you can see, I'm running carpet tires, so I was running it at a carpet track and actually drove pretty well. I was running this against other vehicles of the era, like the B4.2 from Team Associated, the Losi Triple X, all rear motor, sort of like vintage style vehicles. And this actually drove pretty well, a little bit of shock tuning, a little bit of changes. I actually got to drive pretty well. In addition to just the carpet tires, I also went with blue Associated V1 springs front and rear. Went up to 42.5 weight oil in the front, 37.5 weight oil in the rear. Does not come with any shock fluid, so that's something you'll have to provide. Also running, I think it's 5K fluid in the rear differential. So that again, they don't provide any diff fluid. I do recommend running, probably 5K 4 gear that should work pretty well. And really the last thing I don't like is that not a ton of space underneath the body for the ESC here on the side. So this ESC is, you know, it's not, I wouldn't say tall, but it doesn't really quite fit underneath the body. So the body kind of bulges up there when you put that thing on, doesn't really lie flush. So I don't know if anyone else makes different bodies. Maybe J Concepts will still re-release an RB5 body or something like that, and you can make changes. But other than that, yeah, great little vehicle. Seems reasonably durable. Didn't, you know, break too much on here. Everything actually seems pretty good, and yeah, great little car. I don't think there's a better kit you can buy for under $200. So if you've never built a kit, I think this thing actually builds pretty easily. Didn't really have any issues with putting it together, no missing parts. You will need flush cutters, of course. Probably some calipers just to measure things, but pretty easy build, cheap as I mentioned, and you still get parts for this. So a lot better than I think buying an old vintage vehicle like an old Team Associate or Losi or whatever vehicle from back in the day, because you can still get parts, which is really nice. Probably the greatest thing about buying this kit. So yeah, well, definitely a recommended vehicle. If you're looking to build a kit, you don't want to spend a ton of money, this is going to be, I think, one of the best choices, if not the best choice. A lot of people wondering, is this competitive with modern day vehicles? You know, I think on a loose, outdoor, old school, loamy style track, it probably is. You know, maybe change out the shocks, do a little bit of tuning. I think you could get this thing to drive pretty good. On modern day indoor clay, no, I don't think so. You're probably, you know, second a lap down from a modern day vehicle. On carpet or AstroTurf, I did get this thing driving pretty well, but it's definitely not the same as something more modern. It just doesn't carry quite as much corner speed. You know, rear motor is a little more point and shoot. You kind of just line it up, hit the throttle, and nail it and go straight. And then you kind of brake, pivot, and then again line it up and hit the throttle. Whereas modern day vehicles, you're really going to be carving around through the corners, carrying a little more corner speed on a carpet or high traction indoor clay type surface. So you can drive this. I think the durability is also probably not as comparable to modern day vehicles, like these arms, turnbuckles. Everything is pretty skinny. The rod ends do tend to pop off on a crash, so you can definitely pop a ball cup and you know, kind of take you out of a race or something like that until someone pops it back on for you. So yeah, it's not quite as good as a modern day vehicle, but for $200, if you're doing a little backyard racing or, you know, doing something casual with your friends, I think this is a great choice as well. So anyways, those are my thoughts on the Kyosho Dirtmaster, basically an RB5 re-release. If you have any questions, throw them down in the description below. I will have a link there where you can click on it to buy one of these. It does help support the channel, but obviously, you know, buy them from wherever you like, your local hobby shop, whatever. Don't forget to hit the like, share, subscribe buttons. Look for more videos soon. Thanks for watching.